Hi, my name is Pat, and this is my channel, Book Chat with Pat. I'm glad you're here. Today, I would like to talk about my second novel in the 2024 Banned Book Challenge, created by MJ over at Reading This Life. Today, I'd like to discuss the novel Beloved by Toni Morrison. This is one of 3 of her novels that are frequently being challenged and or banned. The other 2 being The Bluest Eye and Sula. But before I do that, I think I need to address something that happened in the past few days after I posted my first video in this series on Khalid Hosseini's The Kite Runner. I posted that video in what was still my first week as a booktuber. The video was initially viewed by a number of people that I've come to interact with and know a little bit on BookTube, and everyone was very supportive and engaging in their comments. Then over the weekend, someone that I didn't know, someone I had never heard from before, left a comment about how much she hated the novel. She condemned the book as terrible writing. Okay, we have different opinions. I don't have a problem with that. But then she went on to insult the unimaginative teachers who don't know what real literature is. And she was sick of these poor teachers, these unimaginative teachers, ramming, she said, this book down the throats of kids. If you saw the video, you know that I said in it that it was one of my students, my seniors in high school, favorite book for maybe the last 15 years of my almost 40-year career. I'm sorry, but this comment felt a little bit personal. I won't go on about the rest of the comment. It was just mean-spirited and unkind. And I am never mean-spirited and unkind when I comment on people's videos. You know, whatever happened to, if you can't say something nice, don't say anything at all. I did invite the commenter to have a longer discussion with me about literature and appropriate books for teaching in the classroom, and she did not respond. She did not take me up on my offer. But her comment somehow provided an invitation for the next commenter, again, not anyone that I have ever known or heard from, who then unleashed his hatred for the book. I am not going to dignify his comments by even summarizing them here, except to say that he used really gross and offensive terms to describe what he considered to be the liberal agenda pushing this book. The point that I'm really getting at here is that this incident was like a punch in the gut. BookTube newbie honeymoon over. Welcome to the real world of posting content on the internet. Truthfully, and I hope I'm not being overly dramatic, this incident did make me question whether I have the constitutional fortitude to maintain a BookTube channel. This wasn't what I signed up for. Thanks to some very kind booktuber friends, especially MJ at Reading This Life, Angelia at Read and Reread, Ollie at CriminOlly, and Michael K. Vaughn, I have felt encouraged to keep on trucking and to keep producing book-related content. No one has to like the books that I choose to talk about. No one has to agree with my research and analysis of why these books have been banned in some places, or even my assertion that banning books, removing them from classrooms and libraries, and making them unavailable to kids is probably always wrong. No one even has to like me. I welcome healthy, respectful discussion and debate. But I do not have to tolerate a lack of civility from anyone commenting on my channel. What has made BookTube so wonderful for me in this last year that I've been watching, and in the last week that I was trying to create, is that it has provided me with a forum of people who love books as much as I do. And we can discuss books with one another. But no one has the right to denigrate anyone else here or anywhere else. It's very easy to hide behind a keyboard and a screen and spit out vitriol. But that takes no intellect and no courage. I do not plan to engage with vicious, mean-spirited people, nor do I plan to let the ignorance and the ugliness of a few trolls ruin what I am just starting to do here as a part of this community. Now, let's get on to Beloved. Beloved is considered by most readers to be the magnum opus of Toni Morrison's long writing career. The novel was published in 1987, and it was the winner of the Pulitzer Prize for Fiction in 1988. In 2006, the New York Times named it as the single best work of fiction published in the last 25 years. Toni Morrison is the author of 11 novels, as well as children's books and essay collections. An earlier novel, The Song of Solomon, won the National Book Critics Circle Award in 1977. Miss Morrison was a longtime professor of humanities and African American studies at Princeton, where she was also a member of the creative writing program. She was the first African American woman to win the Nobel Prize in Literature, which she won in 1993. And she was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom by President Barack Obama in 2012. Beloved tells the story of Setha, an African American woman who is haunted by the ghost of her baby daughter. The novel was inspired by the true story of Margaret Garner, who was a runaway slave. When she realized that she was about to be recaptured, she killed her daughter rather than subject the child to a life of slavery. This famous case was reported in newspapers across the country. Margaret Garner was born in 1833. Her mother was a black slave who was raped by her white slave master. Garner worked as a house slave for Archibald K. Gaines. She was gifted to Gaines' wife. Garner had 4 children, at least 2 of whom were fathered by Gaines. In 1856, Garner was 22 years old and pregnant again with her 5th child. She fled from the plantation where she was enslaved in Boone County, Kentucky. She fled with her husband, his parents, and 4 children. They crossed the frozen Ohio River to the free house of Elijah Kite, a free black man who was also Garner's cousin. As slave catchers surrounded the cousin's house, Garner slit the throat of her 2-year-old daughter rather than return her to a life of slavery. In fact, her plan had been to kill all of her children and herself as well. But the house was stormed before she could do so. Garner's case lasted 2 weeks at trial, one of the longest fugitive slave cases in history. The abolitionist and lawyer John Joliffe asked that she be tried for murder, as that would have set a civil rights precedent. Instead, she was indicted on charges of damage of property. She died 2 years later of typhoid fever. Margaret Garner is the inspiration for Morrison's character, Setha, who killed her baby to spare her a life of slavery. We never actually learn the baby's name in the novel. she is referred to as beloved because that is all that is written on her tombstone. Sethe had wanted dearly beloved on the tombstone, but the price of engraving was 10 minutes of sex with the engraver for 7 letters. She only had the strength for 1 word, and so the tombstone read only beloved. The novel takes place in Cincinnati in 1873, 8 years after the end of the Civil War. Sethe lives in a house referred to as 124 for its address. She lives with another daughter, Denver. The narrative switches back and forth in time and place between the house in Cincinnati and the Sweet Home plantation in Kentucky, 18 years earlier, where Sethe was enslaved. The novel also contains powerful supernatural elements, as Denver and Sethe both experience the ghost of beloved haunting House 124. Additionally, a mysterious young woman shows up at the house one day, and Sethe is convinced that this woman is her long-lost daughter, beloved, now somehow grown up. Indeed, beloved is the embodiment of the haunting legacy of slavery. The novel is vivid in its depictions of cruelty, violence, and horror. It graphically and realistically depicts the horrors of slavery. It also shows the almost impossibility of moving forward when one has endured such cruelty, violence, and utter dehumanization. And this novel is currently one of the most frequently banned books in American schools today. I'd like to talk about a few of the cases where the teaching of the novel has been challenged. In some of the cases, the challenges have not been successful, and the book has remained in the curriculum, often in an AP English literature curriculum, which is a course that is usually taken by juniors and seniors in high school. In many of the cases that I'm going to talk about, the challenges were successful, and the novel was removed from the curriculum, from classrooms, and from libraries. In one school district in Kentucky, 2 parents raised concern about the violence in the novel, which was taught in AP English literature. Beloved was removed from the curriculum there and replaced by Nathaniel Hawthorne's The Scarlet Letter. In 2012, there were hearings in Missouri's Plymouth Canton School District about a list of books, including Beloved, that were all being challenged. A few parents said that the violence and sex acts in the book provided no historical context. One parent complained that the reading level of the book was actually too low. She said that it was a 5th grade reading level and therefore inappropriate for a high school class. In this instance, though, students protested the banning and asserted that African American history is not pretty, but that it is an essential part of their education. In this instance, the district decided not to ban the book. In Virginia, there has been a long battle over the presence of Beloved in school curriculum. It began with a mother in Fairfax County who challenged the teaching of Beloved in AP English because she said that it gave her son night terrors. At one point, bills in the Virginia General Assembly requiring schools to notify parents of any material with explicit content were dubbed the Beloved bills. Initially, then Governor Terry McAuliffe vetoed these bills twice. However, Glenn Youngkin made this issue one of the cornerstones of his campaign for governor against McAuliffe, and he won in 2021. And he said that creating parental oversight of the curriculum would be part of his day one agenda in 2022. That year, the Virginia State Senate passed the legislation giving parents the final say in curriculum matters. Local districts in Virginia must adopt policies informing parents of any explicit content and then provide alternative material on request. Last year, there were multiple successful challenges to the presence of Beloved in the curriculum in the following states: Colorado, Oregon, Pennsylvania, Virginia, and Florida. These were all successful challenges. It is banned outright in 9 counties in Florida today. Charles M. Blow wrote an op-ed piece in the New York Times when the Beloved controversy took center stage in Virginia's 2021 gubernatorial election. He said, and I quote, "To be sure, this is not delicate fare, but Beloved accurately and brutally portrays slavery as a horrific institution that eats away at the souls and the sanity of both enslaver and enslaved. In the presence of that much savage inhumanity, the borders of morality blur or are completely obliterated. There is no way to teach slavery," he went on, "while omitting sexual violence. Rape and perversion are central to the slave narrative." Toni Morrison herself said, in talking about the Margaret Garner inspiration for her novel, and I quote, "The interest is not the fact of slavery. The interest is what happens internally, emotionally, psychologically, when you are, in fact, enslaved, and what you do in order to transcend the circumstance." And really, that is what Beloved is all about. So thank you for watching. I'll see you again soon. Take care.